What's up, guys? This is JZNES back again with another video, and this time we are talking about the classic Megaman Battle Network series that I think is underrated. I don't know. Nobody's talking about it anymore, and I don't think anybody was ever really talking about it. Um, it's one of my favorite series in terms of the Game Boy Advance and whatnot, that era. Fun fact: when I first got my Game Boy Advance, when this was on my 10th birthday, I was probably a little bit after when it came out, but so I got my Game Boy Advance, and I got Super Mario World 2 or Super Mario World, whatever Super Mario Advance 2 Mario World, whatever the fuck that was called. That one, Super Mario World. I got that. And I got Mega Man Battle Network here. I think, yeah, I think I had it in box. This isn't the box. I had to buy this one on eBay later on. I don't have pretty much, well, okay, so let's go through them. So I have Mega Man Battle Network here. My point is, this is the first game that I bought for my Game Boy Advance other than Super Mario World 2. Or Super Mario World, not 2. Mario World 2 is called Yoshi's Island. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so then there was Mega Man Battle Network 2, and I'll talk about this more later on. I'm planning to review all of these basically, but I think this game is probably the worst one in the series, honestly, just because it's still like old enough, but it's just way too hard for its own good kind of thing. The story was a little bit improved and that kind of stuff, but like, I don't know. I don't really like this one that much. It's gonna make it really hard. I'm actually playing these on the Wii U, by the way, which was, oh, I just did that. That's how you get into the little world there. You press the thing and then you go into the Mega Man world. I was just gonna show off that in a second here, but yeah, my friend had this one. He always had like the better thing than I had, or whatever. Like, or he always had the sequels to stuff I had. So like, I had Mario World. He had the Yoshi's Island, that kind of thing. This one was the first example of that. I had Mega Man Battle Network 1. He didn't have that. He had Mega Man Battle Network 2. But I got the last laugh because then, later on, I would end up getting Mega Man Battle Network 3, which is a much better game than 2. So this is my favorite game in the series, and this is definitely, I think, the pinnacle of the series. It's just like the perfect game. There's no gimmicks or anything. This was it. This was the perfect Mega Man Battle Network experience. Right here was Mega Man Battle Network 3. I think this one is the perfect Mega Man Battle Network game. This is my favorite of them. Obviously, like I said, it's one of my favorite games of all time. It's in my top 20, if not my top 10 games of all time, which is great. So we'll get to that when I get to that. And then we got Mega Man Battle Network. Okay, so actually, this is the original box that I had from back in the day. This is the one that I got the game in, so that is an original box. This is also an original box from back in the day. I had borrowed this game off of a friend, Mega Battle Network 4, and then I'm like, oh, this is pretty good after having played 3 or whatever, and then ended up getting it myself, and you know, it was fine. It's probably the second least good of the Mega Man Battle Network games. Like, none of them are specifically bad, other than maybe like Mega Man Battle Network 2, which it kind of borders on being bad. We'll get there. This one is fine. It's another game, you know, in the series. Like, coming off a 3, though, it's a little disappointing. You might be seeing a pattern here. Every other game is actually really good, and there's a reason for that. It's actually, it's every game that has Dr. Wily in it as the main villain. Spoilers, by the way. Is the good one. So, this one didn't. 3 had him, 1 had him, 6 had him, you know, so good stuff, you know. And then Mega Man Battle Network 5, kind of an underrated Mega Man Battle Network game, I would say. It's a weird one because you actually get to start playing as some of the other characters. You have like a team, and your team goes on the missions and stuff, and so you play as different characters, and they had this like tactical RPG like Battlefield setting that were like some of the missions. It was so strange, but it's a pretty good game overall. This is also what I had to buy later on I think this might have been one I bought in person. And then I definitely bought this in person for like, I think it was like 10 or 15 bucks or something like that. It wasn't very expensive, but this is a sealed copy of Mega Man Battle Network 6 Falzar, which is the version that I always played. Oh yeah, by the way, there's versions of these games in the later ones, so there's like or not red and blue, white and blue, and then there's Sun and Moon. What? That's a Pokemon thing. No, it started here, guys. Red Sun and Blue Moon. So the Pokemon stole it from these guys. And there's Proto Man and Colonel. I have the Colonel version. That's the one I've always played. My Proto Man one doesn't work very well. Also, the cartridge that I have. I mean, I have all of these as cartridges. I bought. They're really inexpensive, these cartridges. So I'd say like go and buy like them if you see them really cheap, like less than 10 bucks. Like get them. And then, yeah, this actually was a very expensive box, and this one, I think, was pretty expensive, too. It's the first two that are pretty expensive. The rest of them aren't as hard to get your hands on. The boxes, they're still kind of expensive-ish. But, yeah, Falzar, also one that has Weil in it, so that's probably, like, my third favorite one is number 6. But I haven't played it in such a long time. I only ever played it through once, but I remember it just being really good. So yeah, let's get talking about Mega Man Battle Network. So, this was my first Game Boy Advance game, like I said, and I'd always heard about Mega Man, like I knew about this Mega Man, So I looked at the box and I'm like, oh, this looks pretty cool, whatever, let's get this thing. I thought it was going to be like a side-scrolling shooter Mega Man, and so I wanted something like that because I was kind of into that kind of thing back then, like side-scroller games and whatnot. Obviously Mario World was my other selection of game there, but it didn't end up being anything like that, and I'm really glad it wasn't, because then it would have just been some other generic Mega Man game. This is one of the unique Mega Man kind of series, kind of much like Mega Man Legends is one of the more unique Mega Man series. It's not just running and gunning, side-scrolling action. It is so much more than that. This game is like a tactical it has RPG elements, it has card game elements, like Yu-Gi-Oh! Or some shit. Like, it's crazy with the battle chips and all of that, and like, there's like this futuristic storyline about like going inside the internet, and it's just like the cool, whoa, hey bud, it's alright. Going inside the freaking internet and stuff, and like the series, it's just like this crazy idea, and this crazy concept for a Mega Man game. And the coolest part is, it's like a reimagining, a reinvention of the original Mega Man games, because it has enemies from the old games as the bosses in this game and stuff, which is just so cool. So like all of the classic, not all of them, but a lot of the classic Mega Man villains, like Iceman. Iceman is one of the bosses in this game, and I think Fireman is the boss that's in here. I mean, they've been reimagined. I love their reimagined artwork. Is really really cool, I think that's one of the coolest things about this series, going back after having played all the originals way later on, obviously. But it's just the fact that it's like a reimagining of the entire original Mega Man series in this new context of like the internet and all this stuff. And it's like if Mega Man had a storyline finally, it's like, oh, that's cool, and stuff. So I really think these games are awesome, and they're really underrated because I never hear anybody talking about them. But Mega Man Battle Network 1 is the beginning of the series, and that's a good thing and a bad thing all at the same time. Not that it's necessarily bad in any certain regard. 2 really capitalizes on the bad elements of 1. And they're not even bad elements, they're just elements of like, this is the first game, we still need to like, smooth this out, Okay, while it's playing, one thing we can't deny though, is that the music is fucking kick-ass. Because it's really awesome. It only gets better as the series goes on, especially Mega Man Battle Network 3. The music in there is just insane. Like this theme right here, it's so epic, man. It's like, it's so, you know, it's so crazy. And I know this is just the main theme, and they play this in the other games too, but this is where it all started, right here, is this game. So, like, let's just talk about the music quick, I guess. I don't know, let's sidetrack for a second. Like, this theme's great, the town theme is great, the town theme they carry over to the other games, the internet theme is really catchy. When I hear that, I get nostalgic, but I don't get as nostalgic as when I hear some songs from Mega Man Battle Network 3. But, they are great themes, and each, like, kind of area is, like, a new sort of theme and stuff, and that's really, yeah, this is the internet theme. It always reminds me of this game, obviously. I mean, of course it reminds me of this game, but my point is that it's a great theme, it's, catchy, but it's, like, it's kind of subtle, it's not, like, you know, overbearing, and then these games always, I think, for the most part, had pretty great internet themes when you're in let's say the overworld, basically. It's like the overworld in any other RPG is the internet. It connects all the little areas you're going to, and there's random encounters and stuff on there. We'll get to that later when I talk about gameplay. But the music overall is pretty quality. There's a few, like, loop songs, like when you finish a battle, if you pause on that screen, if you're just, like, on that screen for a while, that gets old after a while, but there's not too many like that. Like when danger or something is happening, like, you know, when the villains come in or whatever, that theme is kind of, it's like, you know, that one's okay. It kind of loops a little bit too, but, you know, overall, the music's really good. Let's put it that way. So, getting back to it, the coolest part about these games is that they're like a reinvention of the original Mega Man series. I didn't know that as a kid. I'd never played any of the other Mega Man games. This was my first Mega Man game, now that I'm thinking about it. This is what got me into Mega Man, you know. I have this to thank for me playing Mega Man Legends later on and stuff. I think this would be before Legends. Yeah, I think so. Pretty sure this would have been before I played Legends. Or 64 as it were, at the time. But this being the first game, like I said, there are some rough patches in some of the gameplay. I mean, the gameplay for the most part is good. It's more the area design and the little quality of life changes that they added to the later games that really helped out. The storyline isn't like the most, like, insane thing or anything at this point. They were just trying to, like, set up the world, which is cool. I mean, you know, like, the thing about this game and most of the other games is, like, the characters and stuff, like, they get better over time, but they are sort of like your typical, like, young kid anime, like, characters, like, what do you call them, the tropes of those characters, you know, kind of thing. Like, Lan is your, Lan Hikari, the guy you play as, is like your typical protagonist character, and, you know, but at the time, that was the age that I was, and I could relate to this kind of thing, you know, so, I didn't mind. I thought it was pretty cool. I always thought he was a pretty cool character. Mega Man, though, of course, is, probably one of the best characters in the first game, at least. And everyone else is just, like, kind of whatever, you know. It's like, this isn't, like, a super deep thing yet. I mean, if I remember correctly, the storyline gets more intense and deeper and stuff in the later games. And this is not, like, super, super deep or anything, but it gets really cool in the other games. They're just setting it up right now, kind of, setting out, you know, the characters and whatnot, setting up Wily as the villain. I mean, you don't even really see much of Wily, except for, like, in between, little events and, like, at the end of the game and stuff. Speaking of which, this is, like, a pretty short game. This is, like, a 15-hour game, and I even, like, went around and explored a little bit and stuff, which is one of the cooler parts of this game. But, yeah, this isn't, like, a super long game. I don't remember any of the other ones being, like, super long, but, like, I think they're a bit longer than this, that's for sure. The other ones added a lot of, like, side questy stuff that you would have to go and do, or, like, fetch quests and stuff like that, where you'd have to, like, figure it out. This one didn't have a lot of that. It's kind of the bare bones Mega Man Battle Network experience, which is, a good thing. It's a good thing, because this is the formula that they would follow and perfect later on in games like Mega Man Battle Network 3. Which is why I think that game is such a good game, is because they finally had perfected the formula and the essence of the gameplay that they set out to perfect with this game, the first one. So yeah, that's cool. Would I say it's like a super meaty experience though, because it's so, you know, long, or I mean long. It's so short. No, I wouldn't say it's like a super meaty experience, but you have things you can do outside of just doing the main quest. You can go and explore the internet, and you get new stuff and new areas. As long as you're battling the other characters, there's like optional characters throughout the game that you can go and battle, and you get like their network address thing, which lets you like go into their area and actually connect their area to the internet. And it also there's a different one. I don't remember which one does which, but there's another one that like lets you go into new areas. So sometimes, like for instance, your first roadblock when you're trying to get to the second area in the internet is you have to go and fight Dex, your friend Dex, who has Gutsman from the first game, which is pretty cool. Yeah, which is cool because Gutsman is actually like one of the other protagonists. Navis, as they call them. Navis are the characters that run around inside of the internet. They are in these devices called PETs, or pets, which are like these little futuristic, like it's like a cell phone crossed with like I don't know, something else, and they can basically you can hook them into certain places. They call it jacking in or whatever. It sounds just so wrong nowadays, but they call it jacking into certain ports. And you do that on all sorts of devices around the world. Like the world's so technological that like anything has these ports. Like even the oven has this. Like that's like the first like real main dungeon is like you go into this oven and you try to like stop your house from burning down or whatever, because Mr. Match, who has Fireman as Navi in this game anyway, has gone in there and set your oven on fire by like tweaking the system or whatever. I don't know. Which is like he's part of this group called WWW, or World 3 if you like, from the show, which is easier to say. That's probably what I'm just gonna call it, is World 3, which is Wily's evil organization who's trying to basically get revenge on Lan's grandfather, which you find out more about him in number 3, because they used to be old partners. So Lan's grandfather is kind of like the Dr. Light of this series. You know, there's Dr. Wily and Dr. Light. The storyline is even very similar. These are spoilers, I guess. I mean, like, there's not much of a story in this game, so I won't give away the plot twist at the end of the game, but one of the things that Dr. Wily says in this game is that like he was more into robotics and stuff, like he was in the original Megaman series, and Dr. Light, let's say, or your grandfather, Lan's grandfather, he was more into creating this whole internet thing. So that was what technology took off, you know, was the internet and jacking into that, and like doing all your tasks and how that would connect the world and all of that kind of thing, which is kind of ahead of its time if you really think about it, because it's very similar to what it is like now, you know. So except we don't have little robots running around inside the internet or whatever, but that's whatever. It would be pretty fucking cool if we did, but it was whatever. So but my point is, that's like in the original games, how Dr. Light, his like stuff takes off, and then Dr. Wily's doesn't, so he becomes evil and wants to get revenge or whatever. That's basically the storyline of the entire game. He's trying to get this thing, all these little programs that seem like like each of the World 3 members. So like Mr. Match was hitting the oven, that didn't really mean anything, and then like I think Higsby. I was trying to think of his name. I was thinking Number Man in my head. Higsby, I think there was some kind of code in the school, or like a program in the school that they needed to grab or something. But all of the characters, the villains basically, are trying to go and grab these programs from these different areas and whatever. And they all come together to form this thing called the life virus, which is also funny because I don't know if it was like his plan or like whatever it was called, but there's a thing in this game called Endgame, which like just totally made me think of the Avengers Endgame. I was just laughing the whole time. Anytime anybody said Endgame, which I think that's like a program, or that's like the program to like do something with the life virus or whatever. I don't really know. The life virus I think comes up in Mega Man Battle Network 2 again. I think. It's been so long since I've played through 2 and actually paid attention to the story and whatnot. But, yeah. Like, so my point is, like, the characters and stuff, they're not that in-depth, but they're like, this is the base set of them, which is kind of a reflection of the whole game. This is like a base set of everything we're going to be doing in the series to come. And I understand why some people think that that's a bad thing, but to me that's not really necessarily a bad thing. I wasn't like bored or anything playing the game. I was just like, okay, this is good, and I know that this is gonna get better in the sequels, you know, kind of thing. Kind of like how Mega Man Battle or kind of like how Mega Man 1 is a great game, but Mega Man 2 is infinitely better, you know, in that regard. So I think that that's kind of how this goes too. It's funny how that works, you know, that the 2 is always better, except in this case, 2 is not better. It's 3 that's better. So, we'll say that Mega Man Battle Network 3 is like the Mega Man 2 of video games. We'll just forget about this, you know, we'll just forget about that. Ironically, it's the only one I have in like one of these cases, but that's because it's expensive, not because it's good. So, oh yeah, and if you can see here, they have like style changes, I guess, in the next game. I don't even remember that being a part of this game, but they have that in this game, kind of. They have like an armor system that never really pans out. You can like buy these armors, but they're like wood, fire, and water armor. The only difference is that like it would protect you against, like, let's say I've got the wood armor, right? I think that would protect me against the water, like, damage that enemies would do or something. Like, I don't know, like, something like that. But the fire is going to do double damage to my wood, and there's a lot of fire enemies. Wood maybe is just the worst one, but, I don't know. Like, there's no point to these armors. They're not really well implemented in the game, to be honest. This game actually has, like, a weird power-up system that they never did in any of the other Mega Man Battle Network games. Oh, actually, you know what? I think 2 might have the power-up system still. By 3, they actually did a new thing called the Custom Nav, where you get little programs throughout the world for doing different things and stuff. I think that was a far better system. And you could rearrange certain ones in there to give you certain power-ups and whatnot, which is cool. It was a really good system in 3. But in this game, it's just like, there's 2 things. HP memory, which is in all of the games. Every time you get an HP memory, you get a boost to your HP for Mega Man. Mega Man is the guy inside the game. The only reason the only thing you do with Lan in the game is to run around the overworld. That's not the internet world, basically. Let's put it that way. And he's there to interact with the other human characters and whatnot. I didn't even talk about Roll. That's why I was talking about the characters, is because the girl character, Meilu, or whatever her name. How do you even say her name? Like, it's spelled Mayl or something, but is that like Meilu? I don't know. However you say her name, the girl character who's your she's kind of your love interest character, even though Lan seems to have no interest in like you know, doing that kind of thing. He's not very romantically minded. I mean, he's a kid for one thing, so I mean, I guess there's that. I think he returns her affections kind of later on or whatever, but that's in the other games. But she's got Roll as her Navi, and I think the Roll design in this game is actually really freaking awesome. It's like one of the best ones, and there's actually custom chips, and I'll explain chips here in a second. There's custom chips from each of the like each of the bosses and the other Navis that are with the other protagonist characters or whatever. And one of them is Roll, and Roll's once you use it, it basically just goes to the enemy, does damage, and then gives you health. It's like the best one. And it's always a staple in all of the games. I always have Roll chip, 1, 2, 3, whichever ones I can fit in, whichever ones I have, because they're some of the best chips in the game, in battle. But, yeah, so, basically, what was I even talking about before? Basically, yeah, that's the whole plot, was the World 3 thing, and then the music's good. The gameplay, let's just get in that. So I was talking about, like, so your land, when your land, you can go around the overworld, and then you jack into certain things, and then Mega Man is there. Then you get to run around more so in like little, like the internet world. Here, I'll even show you. It's like you run around in this. Oh, there I just went out. But you do this, and then he does that. So you hit R there, and then it like gives you a little sequence. You go into the world there, and then there you go. So you run around in like a little area like this, and there's little like diamonds in here and whatever that are like power-ups, or they're like Zenny or whatever, which is the currency. You use that to buy other power-ups. That's what I was explaining, actually, is the fact, I was trying to get into a battle here so I can show that in a second. Okay, the fact that HP, so right now you can see that I've got 660 HP. That's this here. Or, whoops, dang it. Okay. And the reason that I have that, so the reason it's so high, because you start with like 200 or something. The reason it's so high is because I got these things HP memory. Basically, they're like your heart pieces or something. You can buy them from vendors. You can get them around the world at certain areas, you know, very specific areas. Or I think that's the only way you can really get them. In later games, you do like side quests and stuff, and people will give them to you that way as well. But they had in this game something called power-ups, which you can use them to up your attack, your rapid, which is like how fast your buster gun shoots, or your charge, which you actually have to put one into there to even have a charge, like to even charge up your buster. But if you put two in there, then it'll give you a bigger ball. And I don't know how big those get. There's like 2 different stages of that as far as I know. There might even be another one. I don't know. I didn't put a lot into the charge. There's only so many power-ups that you can get, and then they just start getting really expensive and stuff. Like the one that I saw in the post-game was like 100,000. I didn't actually get there, but I was like watching a guy's video so I could talk about it in here. But yeah, like it gets pretty insane in terms of power-ups. But they up attack and all of that, and like your rapid and the charge. So pretty much what I did is I just put all of mine into attack, which is good. And from different vendors in the internet world, you can basically buy like HP memories and the power ups and whatnot. And then you go and put them into whatever stat you want. So there's RPG elements there, and there's actually even a level in this game based on, I think based on the power ups or whatever, which is kind of cool. But yeah, so like so all of that like kind of equates into this, which this is your battle here. So like you could see like the grid and stuff here. This is all I think that's the end. Nope. Okay. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Yeah, that's the end of the soundtrack. Let's get another one going. There we go. Perfect. Megaman Battle Network 3. Well, you hear this later too, I'm sure. Yeah, but so, okay, so like, I've got my own set of grids. It's under here. You can't really see it. I think you can, hold on. No, you can't do that in this game. There's a way where you can, make all this go away so you can see the grid. But anyway, yeah, I'll show you in a second here, but like, basically you run around on these grids. The enemies run around on their grids. This guy is actually locked to a vertical, yeah, vertical or horizontal, whatever. It's kind of hard to say based on that, but you have these different chips, and they do different amount of damage and stuff, and you get these by just running around the world, or you get them by defeating enemies. Like this one I got from defeating this little rat enemy, which is pretty cool. You do well enough in these battles. Like this one, if I were to defeat this guy here, he would give me this, like, it's like a pickaxe chip or whatever. It's called Shockwave. Which is pretty good. There's Roll 3, which is a great chip, actually. That's probably how we're gonna do that. So you like select your little skill there, and you go into I'm trying to get a good angle on this. Alright, so I can see as well. go into battle here. And see, now I'm Mega Man. I can run around on this grid and avoid his attacks. You get that, basically. What he's doing there, that's what you get as a chip. See, I'm going to use roll 3 here. And it just does a whole ton of damage. And just kicks that thing's ass. And you see that little bar up here? That's actually until your next turn. So you can see, so you can get more chips and whatnot, which is pretty cool. Yeah, see, there you go. I got it, Sonic Wave, because I killed him fast enough. See, I got busting level 7. I would have done that a lot faster. I could just hit roll, and I would have got like an S rank on that. But yeah, so you get the idea. Is like you do that. That's like your turn-based battle system, and you can actually that's all of the internet world has these like random encounters just like that. And I thought it's such a cool system. Like you've never seen anything like running around on these in the internet world and like the random encounters and all of that. It's not like your typical RPG, but it has RPG elements in it, like real RPG elements in it, which is pretty crazy. Like, you know, a lot of games have RPG elements. They have like stats and stuff, but this game has all of that. But it's like not an RPG. It's like an action game. I don't even know how to explain it. Is it an action RPG? Is that what this is classified as? Or here, let's look at the, that's the other thing I want to show off. So, you have this folder, right? In this game, you have a folder of 30, and you can't get any more than that. I don't know if you can get more than that in the other games. In the other games, you can actually, like, select one of these and, like, put it so it'll always, like, come to you at the beginning of the battle. This is your main folder. This is all backwards for me, sorry. See, I've got all these like really awesome chips, like these do a ton of damage and stuff, like these recovery chips. Like this is all, you know, stuff like that one makes me invincible for a little bit. It's pretty cool. These are like the Navi chips, you know, I got this from like going and fighting Fireman again. That's another cool thing. Once you defeat a boss, like in the main storyline, you can go into the main hub of the internet, like the main area of the internet, like not the little dungeon side area, and you can like go and sometimes you'll just randomly encounter them again. Sometimes they're at the end of like a path. It's like a really specific spot. But then in like the third time around, they're just randomly in the internet. So you can just randomly run into a boss that you fought before. And it's like, oh shit, here he is, Fireman. And, you know, like if you don't have save states and whatever, like I had save states on here obviously, but like back in the day, it's like, shit, did I save? When was the last time I saved? Because when you die in this game, you go back to your last save. If you didn't save, then you're pretty fucked. It's one of those games. So, no other chances. That's a little bit annoying, is the die you go back kind of thing. And they did that in every game, as far as I remember. There was no, like, checkpoints or whatever. So you had to, like, really, you know. But to be fair, I usually played them on emulation after the initial playthrough. That's how I played through, like, actually 5, 6, maybe even 4. I played 4 back in the day. I beat 4 back when I was in middle school or whatever. It was really hard, though. The ending of 4 is, like, so hard. So precise. But anyway, so yeah, you basically have all of these, and then if you go... How do I get to the... Okay. Yeah, see, if you go over here, here's, like, your bulk chips. Basically, just, like, you know, these are all ones that I could put in my deck, so to speak. You know, it's just called a folder or whatever in this game. It's called your sack. That's so funny. But yeah, like, in later games, they kind of expand upon this. But, you know, so you can take any of these chips into battle and they'll randomly get, like, selected for you. Which is kind of like, some people are, like, against that or whatever. I think that's whatever. You know, it's cool to have that random function because then it makes everything kind of more interesting, I would say. Sometimes you get a shit hand, though. But it's just like building a Yu-Gi-Oh deck. You don't want to put a bunch of bad chips into your deck, so then you don't brick, you know, basically. You know, which means to get, like, a bunch of really bad chips that you can't use together kind of thing. And they all have, like, little letters next to them. And, so, like, let's say I have, like, 2 of these cannon chips, right? I can, if they're both on my menu, I can grab both of those and take them with me into the battle for that turn. Or, like, let's say I have Stone Man and I have another chip that, or like, okay, Guts Man, and you can see at the top there I've got the Mine chip. I can take both of those into battle with me because they're both a G chip, which is pretty cool. That's a really interesting system. So you also have to think about building your deck in such a way that that you have a lot of likewise kind of numbers letters, so you can synergize that way as well. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, that's pretty much how the gameplay works, and exploring the net is pretty cool. I sound like a 90s informational video. The net's cool. You can explore it. Go browse on the web, kids, or whatever. Um, but going around there is cool because it's like a main area. I don't even know how to explain it. It's not like an overworld really. It is kind of an overworld, but the dungeons don't really connect to it. The dungeons are like other places. It's really strange. There's so many things about this game that is so hard to explain because it's so unique. There's like no other RPGs that do sort of a similar thing, which is crazy and it's cool. And I love that they did that with this game, you know, because it's great. It's just great. But yeah, so you have that. Actually, why was I explaining the thing? I could have just showed off the power-up system. So you can see this is how the power-up system works. Like, do I have the wood armor on still? Oh my god, no wonder I was having such a hard time with the fucking game. The fire enemies were kicking my ass, no wonder. So yeah, see, now I just want the regular armor, because... And 660 for health means that I didn't get all the HP memories, but that's okay. There's probably some in the post-game. Look, I'm like level 56 or whatever. It doesn't really mean anything. They kind of take that away later on. That just has to do with these power-ups. I actually maxed out on attack. That's pretty cool. But like, I don't think there's like, what? That would be like 5 more power-ups? I don't think that's a thing, like, in the game. Maybe you can max out. I don't know, but... yeah, so you have like that kind of a feature screen. It's nice that I have the Wii U tablet here so I can like show this off. I didn't really like, I'll show this off as well. I didn't really like this because this is your whole system for save stating. You get one save state and that's it. And yeah, like that's kind of fucked. Like in the Switch save states, they actually let you the Switch like online games, they let you rewind. They let you have like a bunch of save states, and I think that's the way it should be. You know, just like an old emulator. Like that's exactly how they worked. And I definitely did that back in the day. I would save at like different points in like the final boss battles and stuff, or like even just boss battles. Like I'm doing super well, and I have like good chips coming to me the whole time and that kind of thing. And that would have been pretty essential with Megaman Battle Network 2. So I don't really know how that's gonna work out because that game is hard as shit. But I don't know. Yeah, it's, you know, I don't really know what else to say. It's a really cool, like, game. It's cool, because in the, okay, one other thing is in the overworld, when you go and talk to the operator who has the Navi, so, like, that's the person who uses the Navi in the internet world, you, like... It's also like a Pokemon element because you go and battle, like you don't capture other ones. The Pokemon element for that would be more like you get the chips and you get to decide which chips you want to use kind of thing. That's more like a Yu-Gi-Oh thing because it's like there's so many of them to use. But you go and you can net battle with other Navis. So that battle screen that I showed earlier, they'll have their side and you'll have your side. And those are more like the boss battles, except they're just with other like people who are battling and stuff. They have like Proto Man, Chad is one of the kids in this game who's like a pro net battler or whatever, and he's got Proto Man from the old games. And Proto Man looks really sick in this game. Also, the redesigns in this game are just fucking insane. Like all the characters look so cool. Iceman just looks kind of like he did, so I mean whatever. But like most of the other characters look just like fire, you know, like so good. Yeah, and there's actually some post-game content too. I've never been one in these games. I like doing this in like Pokemon and stuff, like going and catching all the Pokemon. But it never like I never found it like necessary to go and collect all of the battle chips, which would mean I would have to kill all of the enemies like perfectly and all of the bosses, and I'd have to go like grind and find the bosses just randomly in the wild again and stuff and like do perfectly against them, which if you're gonna do that, you better do it on emulator. That way you can just like save in case you find that boss. You don't have to like keep running around looking for that boss again. I just never found that super necessary to do. But if you do that, there's like different little tiers of that, and there's a place called the Undernet in this game, which is kind of like the dark web or whatever. Um, the little parallel to that in the real world or whatever. But the Undernet is where like all the like really shady navies hang out and whatever. And in this game, there's actually different tiers to the Undernet where if you have so many chips that you found or whatever, so much of the chip decks, let's call it, completed, then you can go to farther and farther areas in to the Undernet, and so at the very end of all of that, though, there's like different little challenges that you need to do in order to get to the very end. At the very end of all of that, there's 3 bosses that are bosses actually that are in later games. They're different designs in the later games, but like Pharaoh Man I think was in 3. He's got a very different design in 3, but Shadow Man, who actually looks the exact same as he does in 3 or 4 or wherever he shows up. Maybe he's in 2 as well. I don't know. He's in one of the other ones. I think he's at least in 3, but he has a very similar design to that. It's a cool design. And then Bass, yeah, Bass. I was gonna say his name's not Bass, but Bass is actually the final secret boss that you can fight, and he's actually really similar to the spoilers for Mega Man Battle Network 3, but he's really similar to the final fight in Mega Man Battle Network 3 where you fight Bass. It's not the final fight, but he's one of the last bosses in Mega Man Battle Network 3. So really similar to that, which I was really surprised at because I've never actually done the post game content because obviously I couldn't be bothered to go and collect all of the chips. If you're into that kind of thing, though, it could be rewarding. You can actually trade chips with other NPCs in the game, too. That's like another Pokemon element. So, like, if you have these specific chips, then you can go and give them to, like, somebody, and they'll give you chips and stuff, and that's pretty cool. The one thing is there's not like a lot of side content in this game specifically. There isn't the other games. They start, like, giving you side quests that you can do and stuff if you want to. So that kind of cuts down the fat of this game. But I think that's great because specifically in this one, it's just starting the whole series. So it's like like I said, the basics of what a Mega Man Battle Network game is going to be. And it nails all of the elements, I would say, other than just like a few little nitpick things, which are like... okay, so for one thing, the main hub world, it's not really hub world, but the main internet area all looks pretty much the same, like design-wise. In the other games, they all kind of have like a distinctive look to the different areas and whatnot. And so sometimes people would be like, oh, you need to go inside the internet and then you need to go to Den City area. And they're not labeled like they do in later games. Later games you can like look on your pause menu and it'll say like, oh, Den City Area 1, Den City Area 2. And they do that, I think, as soon as Mega Man Battle Network 2, which fell, and good thing it's on the ground because this game deserves to be on the ground. I'm giving it a hard time. Maybe it'll be good when I go and revisit it. I don't think so, though. It's very hard. Not that hard is necessarily bad, but it's kind of unfairly hard. Like, whatever. We'll get there when we get there. Which is kind of funny, because this game is not very hard at all. Like, it's not hard. Like, it's a moderate challenge, It's not, like, a super hard game. It would be hard for a 10-year-old kid, or whatever, an 8-year-old kid, or whatever the fuck. I played it when I was 10, but, like, it might be hard for them, is what I'm saying, but, like, harder than it is now. But, I remember, like, some of the later games being pretty challenging, especially like parts in 4 are pretty challenging, like the ending sequence of 4 or whatever. That was so stupid. That's challenging for a whole different reason though. But yeah, I mean, this is like kind of this is like such an awkward area in the Mega Man Battle Network series because they didn't necessarily know like where they were going yet with it, and I don't know exactly how to explain that, but like 2 also has this like feeling of like these are the early Mega Man Battle Network games, and as soon as it gets to 3, this is the formula that they kind of take from here on into the other Battle Network games. But all the other Battle Network games are like really gimmicky for a weird reason, except for like I think it's just 5, really. That's super gimmicky. Well, 4 is kind of gimmicky, too, because you have, like, the tournament setting and all of that. It's kind of a strange thing. I don't mind it. It's fine. And then 6 was, like, really story-heavy or something. Like, I don't remember what 6's gimmick was, but these early ones didn't really have, like, a gimmick at all. They were just kind of Megaman Battle Network games, and they... but as soon as 3... There was like, I mean, actually, 3 started the tournament arc, so I don't know what I'm saying there, but it was done well in 3. Not that it wasn't done well in 4, but I'm just saying. There were no version exclusives at this point, because there wasn't any versions at this point. We'll talk about those later. I don't even know what some of the version exclusives in the other one are, and the other games are. I mean, there's different navies and stuff you can fight. You fight different bosses, and like you have different, like optional battles you can go and do and stuff. Different chips you can get in later ones. They did that because of Pokemon. We all know that. But, yeah, I don't know. So, it's just little nitpicky things like that. Just little things that, like the, some of the dungeon stuff, too, was a little odd. Like, wasn't, that was bad. It was just kind of annoying. Some of the early dungeon stuff, like, there was, like, Iceman stage, you have to, like, slide in very specific patterns. I remember that being a pain in the ass as a kid. Like, I didn't mind it as much this time. This time it was fine. Like, I was just a little confused sometimes on that one. The Fireman one is pretty easy. The Number Man one is literally just, like, I mean, I like that one because that dungeon actually had, like, at certain points there'll be little roadblocks and it'll be like, okay, go and count these things in the real world. So it's kind of like a synergistic thing there. That was pretty cool. So yeah, they're like little gimmicky things in each dungeon, which is just kind of really cool. I thought it was pretty well done overall. I guess like the Elecman one was a little odd too. By the way, he got a really cool redesign as well. He looks fucking awesome in this game. That's all. They all look fucking awesome. Let's just put it that way. But Elecman's stage is kind of annoying because the paths aren't lit up, so you don't know where you're going. You just kind of have to bump against the wall until you're like, okay, can I go forward here? Where does this path like take me? There is a remake of this game, or like a remake. It's like a better version of it on the DS in Japan or something, and they actually like fixed that, where like the paths will like light up a little bit and whatnot, which is pretty cool. Like the battery puzzle in that was just kind of odd because it's like you just keep putting batteries in each of the little slots until you figure out like which one works, and you have to keep going and recharging them. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. It's just kind of like tedious grind work on the side. It's not really a puzzle. But, like, those are little elements that they had in these games that they kind of, like, had those in some of the later games, too, but they kind of, like, fixed it in the later games. I don't know. It's just, like, a little odd and annoying in these games. They thought, like, doing ice puzzles and stuff was going to be, like, a good idea. To be fair, Pokemon did that in Generation 2, so maybe that's where they kind of thought, they kind of thought that that was, what people liked or whatever, ice puzzles and stuff. But yeah, there's like these light puzzles. Those were actually pretty good in the Color Man dungeons, like the lamp things. They're not really dungeons, but you know what I mean. Like in those dungeons leading up to Color Man, those are pretty cool in terms of they did little light puzzles or whatever. That was cool. Yeah, but I mean overall, those are like my major complaints. Like, they're not very major. They're little nitpick minor things. Like, they're just not well refined yet. They didn't really know what they were doing at this point, which is understandable. I mean, I would say for not knowing what you're doing, for creating, I would say essentially a whole new genre of like mishmash, like, here's RPG elements. We're gonna add like this tactical like little battlefield in here, and we're gonna put in Yu-Gi-Oh elements with these chips or whatever. I don't know how the hell they came up with this idea, but it actually works surprisingly well for having all these elements that are like friggin' crazy elements, and whatnot. It's like they work really well together. So, I don't know. I just like it's really cool. It's a really unique kind of game. If you're thinking like, should I play this series? Should I play this series from the beginning? I would say yes. I would say play Mega Man Battle Network 1. I would say 3 is definitely a worthy one to play. I think 4 is fine. If you want to play 4, you can. 5 and 6, I would say, are worth playing. If you're gonna just do like the most baseline run through of Mega Man Battle Network, though, 1, 3, 6, that's the main storyline. That will get you done pretty good. So maybe 5. I don't know. Maybe you throw 5 in there. I mean, like 2 and 4 are like, are they necessary? Yeah, okay. You know, like little things get referenced. Like if you don't play 2 and 3, there's like this one part where you meet the villain from 2, and he like he's like talking about how he like reformed himself and whatever. And I think 3. God, I don't want to keep talking about 3, but 3 actually like you know, we have like some very bare bones like tropey characters in this first game, but 2 had like a little bit better characters. 3 had like really good characters, and they actually had like moments and storylines that were like kind of effective, you know. They're like, holy shit, like I don't want to spoil anything. I mean, I'll talk about it when I get to 3, but there were like actually some just like pretty cool storylines and like, really effective moments and whatnot. Like got a little deep there at sometimes. The storyline's much more in depth and whatever, and that, you know, that's what this game pioneered. It pioneered the system of the gameplay, and it's like, okay, we're gonna take this, and then we're gonna oh, this is from the, I think is this zoo area? I don't know. From 3. Sorry, this is the 3 set. These are all, this is just 3. Whatever. Sorry, I gotta focus on this. So yeah, you know, okay, and that's the cool thing about 3 is that they actually themed their areas a lot better than the first game. The first game did theme their dungeons really well, so I mean, I'll give them that, and that's great. And it was great. It was a good game, and I recommend the game. There's just a few little things that are gonna make it just a really baseline kind of experience. You know, it is the first Mega Man Battle Network game, and that is fine, and that needed to exist at some point so we could get to the better games, the perfected games, you know. I don't even think the flaws, quote unquote flaws, of this game are even that bad. You know, like I sat here and I played it like I played it like I do a good game. I played it until the sun came up a few times, you know, kind of thing. That's how I used to play this game. I used to play the shit out of it, you know, while doing other things. I mean, hey, nothing's really changed, right? It's like the perfect, for me, like replayable game, because it's like the perfect length. This series, any game in this series, other maybe like 2, like I know, gotta get my chance into bash on 2 there, but like they're all pretty short, but like they're not like too short. They're like the perfect length, I would say, for this kind of game, and especially since they were portable games in their origin day. I think it's a lot better to have this, like if you have a, dang it, if you have a Wii U, even just playing it like this portably, not portably, but you know, like on your couch or something, is better than playing it like on a Game Boy Advance. I mean, you can play it on a Game Boy Advance, that's all fine and everything, but for me, I like playing it on the TV. So, this was kind of also the reason I wanted to do this whole series. Like, I mean, I've always wanted to review these games, like, really in depth and just go all the way with it. I never got around to doing, like, a proper, like, a JZNES kind of, you know, review thing of it. But this is my new format. This is my new style. New. I mean, I've been doing it for a long time now. But, you know, just talking about it, I think that's works a lot better. I don't like doing all the editing and all that because it gets really tedious after a while. That would have been a cool review, and I hope somebody... I've seen reviews like that, and I might do something like that someday, just because there's not a lot of like really high-quality reviews of this game like that. And it would be really cool to just like show off the gameplay and stuff, and that's... But it would just be a lot of work, and this is just the easier way for me to do this. But my point is, these are like the perfect replayable games. Sometimes I just sit down and I'm like, I want to play through Mega Man Battle Network 1 again, or 3. 3 is really the one that I get the urge to go back through again. And since they're like short if you want them to be, or in 3's case, and some of the later games, there's a lot of extra content. and there's a lot of stuff to explore and a lot of side areas and stuff. Um, if you want to get in and just do the game, you can do that, or you could just go full in and just like explore everything and be a completionist about it, and just like you'll get a lot of value and time out of that. So yeah, the games are great. The first game especially is pretty good. Um, just play it. You know, it's the perfect like introduction to the series. There's a really important thing at the end of the game, the twist that I'm not going to reveal. That happens kind of like before the final boss. That is a very important thing for the rest of the game. So I would say that story-wise, it is an important story. A lot of the characters and stuff are like set up here, like Higsby being an ex-WWW World 3 member or whatever, you know, is from here. Like he kind of has he turns around, like he's like the second operator boss of the game. He operates Number Man, but which I don't think Number Man was even in any of the other games. I think they made him up for this one. So it's kind of cool that they make up their own ones sometimes, but they also pull from all of the Mega Man like bosses. I think that's so cool that they like reinvented the series like this. I know I keep saying that, but just to me it's just so crazy that they like thought like, hey, let's I don't know, it's not that crazy of an idea, but it's just like it's so cool to see these enemies in such a newer like light, you know. It's not these little pixel guys anymore. They look badass now, you know. They look fucking awesome. Like they're something you'd want like a figure of, you know, or something like. But yeah, anyway, like I don't know what else to say. The game is great. I would say play the first one absolutely. It's recommended. I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10 because I think that you know, it's not the perfect Mega Man Battle Network game, but it's pretty good, and it has little things that might turn some people off, like the little ice physics in the dungeon and all that, and what else? Whatever else I said that was like a flaw, like a tiny, you know, nitpicky thing. But I would say it's still worth doing. You know, it's still worth going through. Overall, because the gameplay here is tight. It's solid. It's as good as it ever. Well, I mean, it gets better. Obviously, Mega Man Battle Network 3 and stuff, they have, like, better chips, better everything in Mega Man Battle Network 3. They have, I think that game has, like, souls or whatever, or maybe it's just, like, you just get new armor or whatever, so, which is pretty cool. Like, depending on how you play the game in Mega Man Battle Network 3, you get, like, different armors and stuff, which, like, turns your charge shot into, like, a flamethrower, like, you know, or like a wind thing, you know, like all sorts of different things. It's pretty cool. This game didn't really have anything like that. Like I said, there's the armor system and all that, but you know, it's basic, but it's still really good, and it's not going to take you that long to finish anyway. So just go through this one. We'll talk about 2 next time, or not next time. Maybe I'll do a game or something in between, but like we'll talk about 2 whenever I get back to this series. I am planning on going through the series, but we'll see how fast that happens. I don't know. Like, I was going to do one of these games and then one game and then, you know, one of these games again kind of thing. Perhaps. Or maybe I'll just go through 2. I don't know. Maybe I'll just play them at the same time. Simultaneous games. Who knows? Anyway, this game, gameplay is great. The exploratory elements are great. Bosses, dungeons, great. Storyline is okay. It's pretty basic, but it is what it is. It gets better late in the later games. It's just setting up the characters and the story and the stuff that we're gonna see in the later games. This is a cool reinvention of the original Mega Man lore and story and characters and whatnot. I think that the characters are pretty cool. The Navis are fucking awesome, and the all the enemies in the game are actually pretty diverse as well, and they a lot of them are like classic Mega Man enemies, but they added a lot of new ones in here too, or maybe ones I just don't remember from the old games. Like I never played any of the X games or any of those, so so yeah, but yeah, and the music is fucking awesome. It's like really good. It only gets better throughout the series. I think even 2 had some pretty good music, but yeah, I think I didn't talk about the graphics or anything. Graphics, what a thing! But I think it looks pretty good for Game Boy Advance. Like it's a pretty cool looking world, you know. It's pretty in depth and everything. There's a lot of vibrant colors and everything, and I think it looks awesome. You know, all of them look pretty awesome. Um, they obviously just keep getting better looking later on, and like 3 and stuff looks pretty good. But you know, it's a really cool game. It's really unique. You're never gonna find anything like this anywhere else, as far as I know of. If you know of any other games like this, please tell me, because I'd love to play another kind of series that's sort of similar to this. But yeah, I mean, if like any of this looked interesting, or like if any of this sounded interesting, I hope it sounded interesting. I think it's fucking interesting. Play this game. I really recommend it. The way I'd recommend playing it is, I mean, you could buy it on the Wii U store like I did. The colors, I think, are a little washed out on the Wii U thing. Like, it's not the colors, it's like the brightness. Like, they did that in like the N64 games on the Wii U too, so it's like not the perfect way to play it. You can just get the original cartridges if you like are cool with Game Boy Advance and playing it on the small screen or whatever. If you have the Game Boy player, you can play it on the TV anyway with that. Or you could just, hook your computer up to your TV and use an emulator, because emulators are awesome, and you could save state a bunch of times, and that would be fucking cool. That's the way I originally played most of these games, and I think that works pretty well. Now, I would say, I did play it with the, I think this is called the Classic controller, right? For the Wii. The only problem is you gotta hook it up to this thing. It didn't actually end up being that bad, though. This, though, is a really comfortable controller, like the A and B, but I thought that this might be like, I don't know about this, like, but this ended up working out really nice. Because I'm not, it's funny, I'm not the biggest fan of the Super Nintendo controller, but this is sort of like the Super Nintendo controller, except, like, better, I would say. This is, if the Super Nintendo controller felt like this in my hands, like, this would be so much better. It has a little analog sticks too. I didn't really use that very often. I used that a few times, like on the ice level, because if you slip, you go back, you fall through these pits, and then you have to go around again and stuff. That's why I would say save states are a good thing in this context, is because there's little things like that. Or if you get a game over and you didn't save the game hard on the game, then like, you could save state more so. Yeah. The thing is, what I wish they would do, come on Nintendo, or Nintendo, come on Nintendo, no, come on Capcom, you've been releasing your fucking Mega Man collections. You did the first one, you did X, you even did Z, or not ZX, or what is that, ZX, or where the fucking newest collection was. Come on guys, release a Mega Man Battle Network collection for the Switch, so then we can take it with us, we can have it on our TV screen. And, maybe you can even add some save state functionality in there, like you did with your Legacy collections or whatever. I think there was some save state functionality in there. Or there's some rewind functions, too. Like, that would be fucking awesome. You gotta do it. Come on. It'd be so cool to play these games on the go or on your TV. It was originally meant for on the go, but if you want to play it on your TV like me as well, I think that's great. I think it looks great on the TV for the most part. If you're into those pixel graphics or whatever, like I am. Like this sick beat from Mega Man Battle Network 3. That's gonna be a fun game. I want to get to that so bad, but I gotta play this fucking shit in between. But yeah, okay, I give it a 8 out of 10. And it's a good game. I would say play it. And yeah. If you play, that was my point about the controller, by the way. If you play it emulating, get yourself, if you can, okay, let me think. You're gonna have to have a controller that has shoulder buttons, because the R button and the L button are used to talk to Mega Man, get hints. One of them is used to go into the internet world, and you use them in battle to that little gauge fills up, you use them to get new items. So you're going to need R and L buttons. Or, what you could do is, if you have a controller that has 4 face buttons, you could just make these the L and R buttons. If it has 4 face buttons, though, it's probably going to have L and R buttons. My point is, like, a lot of times with with like Game Boy Advance games or like Game Boy games, especially Game Boy games, you can get away with it. I would always use an NES controller, but if you get like hook up a Super Nintendo controller, or like I don't know, you could use like a PS4 controller to your computer or whatever. I don't know. I just feel like something like this. Try to get a controller that's very similar to this controller here, because this is a really nice controller to play this kind of game, you know. And you have these for your save states. Try to get a controller like that to play it with. Playing it on mouse and keyboard would be just like kind of dumb. Like keyboard, not mouse, obviously, but I don't know. That might not work out so well, but I'd recommend that. Otherwise, if you want to spend the money and get the Wii U versions, it's a fine version. You only get one save state, though. That's the problem, is just the one save state is kind of detrimental, especially in the later games, like 2, like I said, to the experience. So it won't ruin the experience. It's still going to be great, but, you know, as long as you save and stuff. But a lot of times, you go into a cutscene and you're fighting a boss, and it's like, well, I didn't know I was supposed to save. I didn't know the boss is coming up or whatever, you know, so it's like that kind of thing. But anyways, I recommend it. Play it. You know, here's to the rest of the series whenever I get to there. So this has been JZNES saying, keep it classic. Stick around for more Mega Man Battle Network reviews and underrated games like that. And I'll see you guys in the next one. JZNES.